The Indiana Fever just sent a statement to the rest of the WNBA, and it came at the expense of the New York Liberty in a game that nobody expected to tilt the way it did. Caitlin Clark, once again, proved that the doubters might want to take a step back, because the so-called growing pains? They look like growing power now, and even Sabrina Ionescu, who's seen it all in college and now at the pro level, had to respond to what she saw, and it was honest, and honestly, a little surprising. The Fever didn't just win, they dismantled. And this wasn't just any game. This was personal. This was narrative. This was the matchup people have been circling since the draft: Sabrina versus Caitlin, old school versus new wave, leader versus rising star. From the jump, Clark was in attack mode, hitting shots from deep, running the floor like a general, dishing out assists that made defenders question their positioning, and most importantly, showing that she can lead a struggling team to a dominant win when it counts. The Liberty, meanwhile, looked shaken, not just outplayed, but out-energized, and for a team that prides itself on depth and chemistry, that's saying something. Sabrina Ionescu, to her credit, still had a solid game as she hit key threes, tried to rally the team, kept her composure, but it was obvious, the tide was against them. The post-game presser is where things took a turn, because when Sabrina was asked about Caitlin, she didn't do the canned response, she didn't give the vanilla quote. She looked straight at the reporter and said, "She's tough, she sees the floor well, and when she's confident, she's dangerous." That might sound like a compliment, and in many ways it is. But the tone? The look in her eyes? It said more than the words did. This wasn't just one star praising another. This was a player who knows what it means to be the face of a rebuild, recognizing the storm that's coming, and it's wearing number 22 in Indiana. Let's be real, Caitlin Clark has been under a microscope since the second she declared for the draft. Every game is dissected. Every reaction is magnified. And with players like Chindy Carter, Dejounte Carrington, and now teams like the Liberty throwing defensive heat her way, the WNBA has unofficially decided that Caitlin is the proving ground. But this time, she proves something back. And for Sabrina, that's a reflection moment. Because it wasn't long ago that she was in that spot, the generational college star, carrying a team, facing veterans who questioned if she was ready. She knows that pressure, she knows that hype, and she also knows how quickly it can turn. So when Sabrina spoke about Caitlin with a kind of focused respect, not awe, but awareness, it meant something. This wasn't envy. This was recognition. And that kind of recognition carries weight. Around the league, players are watching this evolution in real time, the way Caitlin has started to adjust, how she's found chemistry with players like Aaliyah Boston, how she stopped forcing plays and started dictating tempo. She's not just reacting to the league anymore. She's shaping the game. And that's something Sabrina knows all too well, the moment when your presence starts to shift defensive schemes, when your confidence spreads through the locker room, when your haters quiet down and your doubters run out of material. This game wasn't just a Fever win. It was a turning point for Caitlin Clark, for the Indiana Fever, and for how opponents talk about her moving forward. Because when someone like Sabrina Ionescu, who's been dubbed the next big thing herself, gives you that kind of nod, it's not hype, it's confirmation. And now the WNBA has a new headline. It's not just about Caitlin Clark trying to fit into the league. It's about the league realizing it's going to have to adjust to her. Part 1 of this storyline was the game itself and Sabrina's subtle post-game comments. Part 2 is everything that's been bubbling under the surface, the reactions, the media spins, the social conversations, and the growing tension in the WNBA's shifting narrative. Because what followed that blowout wasn't silence, it was noise, the kind of noise that turns a regular season game into a culture war. You had analysts on ESPN diving deep into Sabrina's quote, dissecting the tone, comparing her journey to Caitlin's, framing the Liberty's performance as not just a loss but a loss of momentum in the face of a new WNBA order. And on social media, it was wildfire. Clark fans ran with the win, calling it a passing of the torch, while Liberty fans defended their team's overall record, and somewhere in between, the tension between established stars and rising rookies became the real storyline. The WNBA has always had elite talent, from Taurasi to Maya Moore to Sue Bird to Candace Parker, but there's never been a rookie with this much immediate pressure and coverage. And now Caitlin Clark is not just expected to play, she's expected to carry, to elevate, and to win. That blowout win over New York? It was more than just a scoreboard, it was proof that maybe she can do all of that. The reaction from players around the league was just as interesting. Some veterans gave Clark her flowers, praising her poise, her leadership, her evolving court vision. Others were more muted, offering generic praise, but not much more. And then there's the elephant in the room, the underlying tension between the established W and the new media machine surrounding Clark. Because when Sabrina Ionescu speaks, and when that speech is clipped, shared, and spun into narratives, it matters. She's not just a player, she's a brand, a voice, and her stance shapes public opinion, even subtly. So when she acknowledged Clark's danger, her vision, her confidence, it wasn't just praise, it was positioning. Positioning herself not as the fading face of a passing era, but as a peer, someone who recognizes the talent, but still believes she belongs at the top of that conversation. Let's not forget, this was supposed to be Sabrina's era. She was the one with the unprecedented triple-doubles in college, the #1 pick, the one whose draft was attended by legends and pushed as the future of the league. But her journey hasn't been smooth. Injuries, chemistry issues, role adjustments, it hasn't been a straight climb. Meanwhile, Clark is surging through her rookie year, pushing past early struggles, stacking highlights, and drawing crowds in every city she visits. So the question becomes, is this a rivalry or a transition? Because that's what the media wants. They want the old versus new narrative, Sabrina versus Caitlin, as if there isn't room for both. But behind the scenes, it's more complex. These players know what's at stake: endorsements, minutes, respect, control of the narrative. And that post-game moment from Sabrina? It showed she knows Caitlin's not just a shooter, not just a rookie, she's a force, one who might very well tilt the league in a new direction. The Liberty, as a team, are also feeling that weight. They were expected to dominate this season, and while they're still a top-tier squad, a blowout loss to the Fever raises serious questions. Are they evolving? Are they prepared for this new era? Because the Fever are rallying around Clark now, you can see it in how Aaliyah Boston plays with her, how the bench reacts, how the coaching staff trusts her. And that chemistry? That's what wins championships down the line. So when Sabrina spoke, she wasn't just talking about Clark. She was talking about the shift happening right in front of us. One where the spotlight doesn't just follow talent, it demands leadership, it craves consistency, and it amplifies every move. And right now, Caitlin Clark is moving. And everyone, including Sabrina, sees it. The respect might be subtle, but it's there. And the league is watching closely to see what happens next. While some might see it as just another regular season victory, those watching closely know the implications run much deeper, because what we saw in that Indiana Fever versus New York Liberty matchup wasn't just an upset, it was a statement, and the echoes from that night are still bouncing across the league. The Liberty, once seen as the elite force, were humbled, and not just by Caitlin Clark's scoring, but by her command, her floor presence, and the undeniable shift in energy she brings with her each time she steps on the hardwood. She's rewriting expectations in real time, not waiting for approval, not slowing down to ask permission. And whether the league's veterans like it or not, they're all being forced to respond. Sabrina Ionescu knows this well. She's been that player before. She's felt that pressure, the spotlight, the responsibility of carrying a franchise's hopes. But now, it's Caitlin in the center of it all, and Sabrina is navigating a new reality. One where she isn't just the hunted, but maybe, just maybe, the one being compared to a younger, louder, more headline-hungry name. And that brings out something deeper, something more layered. Not resentment, not jealousy, but awareness. Because Sabrina has worked to establish herself in this league, through ups and downs, through injuries and doubts, through the tough grind of being a leader on a team with championship expectations. So when someone like Clark walks in and starts shifting that narrative, it forces everyone, including Sabrina, to reassess where they stand, and more importantly, what's next. The chatter surrounding the game was loud, but even louder was what wasn't said. Players don't always speak their full minds post-game, but their body language tells stories. Sabrina looked frustrated, not just at the loss, but at how quickly the tone around her team had changed. From contenders to questioned, from dominant to disrupted, and all because of one game, one rookie, one rising phenomenon. It's a reminder of how quickly things can change in this league. For the Fever, it was a moment of clarity, a moment where the locker room finally believed, not just in Caitlin, but in themselves. The ball movement was crisp, the defense tighter, and the team chemistry, something that seemed absent earlier in the season, was suddenly real. You could see it in how they celebrated each other, how they played off one another, how Clark facilitated but didn't force. That's what makes her so dangerous. She doesn't need to dominate every possession to control the game. She reads the moment, adapts, and puts others in positions to shine. And when it's her time to pull up from the logo, she does it without flinching. This kind of leadership is rare, especially from a rookie. And veterans around the league are noticing. They may not say it in every presser, but their game plans, their defensive intensity, and yes, their post-game interviews all show they're adjusting to the Caitlin Clark effect. But here's the twist. This isn't just about talent. This is about timing. Clark's rise is happening in a moment when the WNBA is hungry for expansion, not just in teams or markets, but in storylines, in stars who can carry attention beyond the diehard fans into the mainstream. She's that bridge. And while some players embrace that, others struggle with it, because for years they've carried the league without nearly the same level of fanfare. So when Sabrina Ionescu praises Caitlin, even lightly, it's not just professional courtesy, it's a signal that the league is shifting, that the torch isn't being passed quietly, and that for the Liberty and the rest of the league, adapting isn't optional. The most telling part? Caitlin doesn't seem fazed by any of it. She's staying focused, pushing through criticism, using every game, every win, every loss as fuel. And as her teammates start to reflect that same energy, the Fever are becoming something no one expected this early in the season: dangerous. This isn't about one win anymore. It's about a rising tide, and the Liberty just found themselves caught in it. The WNBA is in a different place now, one where every move Caitlin Clark makes becomes part of a bigger story, and that story is starting to evolve beyond just her numbers. It's becoming about her impact, her influence, and what she represents, not just to fans, but to other players, franchises, and the league's future. This latest blowout win over the Liberty isn't just a one-off. It's a sign that the Indiana Fever are finally finding their rhythm, and with each game, Clark is becoming more comfortable leading, more comfortable taking ownership of her team. And the results are starting to show. She's not doing it alone. Of course, Aaliyah Boston's resurgence, Nalissa Smith's versatility, and the emergence of role players stepping up have all played a huge part in the Fever's recent stretch of strong basketball. But it all starts with Caitlin. And that's what's got people talking. Sabrina's subtle nod after the game wasn't just a post-game routine. It was a moment of recognition, of one star acknowledging another on the rise. She knows the pressure, she knows the expectations, and she understands the weight that comes with being the face of a franchise. Clark isn't just meeting those expectations, she's shifting them. And as the Fever continue to rally around their rookie leader, it's becoming clear this is more than just a hot streak. This is a movement, and the league is watching. Because Caitlin Clark isn't waiting her turn, she's taking it.